Hi everyone, this is Flora Koilekaki again. Welcome to my space where we basically talk about life and faith. And it is my belief that in life we don't make mistakes, we learn lessons. And so, yes, there's going to be lots of lessons to be learned in this life. So, let's brace ourselves for it. Now, today I was under the weather and it got me thinking. I remembered one of my mother's housekeepers growing up, our housekeeper growing up. This was a lady with a beautiful soul, and she was called Josephina Anyoso. I can never forget that name because she kept writing. She knew her name. She kept writing it down. She was deaf and she was dumb. That means she could not hear and she could not speak. But she had gone to school for a bit, so she knew how to read and write. We initially spoke or communicated through pen and paper, basically. So I would write and then she responds. Her handwriting was not the best. I, from what she told me, she had gone to school up to lower primary maximum, maybe class 4 or 5. But class 4, telling by her handwriting, it seemed as if she stopped going to school when she was learning how to write. But she wrote clearly, of course, and we communicated. And because she was not speaking the official Kenyan Sign Language, she taught me how to sign, or she taught us how to sign because it was not just me, it was myself and my siblings. So she taught us how to sign the best that she could. But that's not even the essence of the story. She was a beautiful soul. Was because God rest her soul in eternal peace. I learned that she died, and sadly, she died from an abusive marriage. So Josephina was a bubbly girl, built, happy, a go-getter, and she never let us sleep hungry. She was the housekeeper. So this is what she would do. We lived in a compound that had a large vegetable garden, and so she farmed. She was very strong. She would wake up very early in the morning, go to the farm. It was not so big, but it was big enough to feed a family of 10. So she would go to the farm, do her farm work, and then come back and do her housework. And so at one point, my mom, I think, I cannot remember why my mom needed money, but it may have been for feeding or her salary. I am not so sure. And my mom had no money. So Josephina went to the shamba, the farm, and harvested the vegetable that she had planted that we used to feed on. And so she harvested and went to the market and sold the vegetable. And she came back very, you know, almost immediately. The market was not far. We didn't live far from the market. So she went with 2 gunny bags full of vegetable and then she came back almost immediately. Now, story has it that when she got to that place, because she's deaf and dumb, she enticed buyers by her sign language, and she called so many people, and then no sooner than sooner or later, that English, she her vegetable was sold out, and she came back home with the money and handed it all to my mom. She handed it all. Another time, again, my mom said that she had no money, and Josephina went around the block to every house around the neighborhood and she knocked. My mom was a tailor and a teacher at the same time, so tailoring was her side hustle. So Josephina learned to tailor clothes in the process because she was curious. She was really an intelligent girl, I tell you. And so she went around the neighborhood and collected every torn cloth. At this point, neighbors were accustomed to her sign language, and so she would just sign something to signify tear. So if you have any torn cloth, give her. She came back with torn clothes, uh, patched them up, sewed them up, whatever she did, and then returned the clothes to every neighbor, and asked for some pay. Again, she came and gave my mom all the money. So that's the kind of person I'm talking about. She gave it all. She just gave it all up. Then, when I was around 12 years old, she took me to school. I was in boarding school, in primary school. And Josephina was very noisy because she was trying to tell her story, even though no one would understand her story. I had begun hearing or understanding what she was communicating. In fact, it was easy to understand her sign. But then she was able to pay for our bus fare and demand the exact amount of change. The tout tried to shortchange her, and she could not have any of it. So she caused a lot of fracas until she got her exact change back. Josephina. She is a girl I remember so fondly because when I had a headache as a young girl, she came and got some balm, menthol. I think it was either Vicks or Rob. And she would rub it so gently at the sides of my head and then tell me to cover my head up and that when I woke up, I would be fine. And true to her word, I would always be fine when I woke up. So she took care of us. She had a child before she came to our house, but then she said that the child died as a result of an abusive marriage. The husband beat them up for no apparent reason. This is a girl who could not hear or talk. And she was married off to a drunkard man. And so she said that at some point, because her husband beat her so much, whenever he came home late into the night and found her asleep, he would beat her. So she got a way to survive. What she did, because she could not hear him come, she decided to sleep resting on the door so that when he knocks, she would sense that he was outside, and then she opens the door and his food was ready. But then the man still beat her up. So that is how come she came to live with us. She endured an abusive marriage. So for the 3 or 4 years, she lived with us. I remember 3 or 4 years, but I'm not so sure. But for that time, I saw love because she was a mother. She was a mother at heart. She kept saying stories about how she had a baby and the abusive marriage, and it made me so sad because why would someone abuse a special needs person? I did not understand that. But well, it happened. At some point, my mom bought her a sewing machine because her dad wanted her back. Why? Because the man wanted to marry her off. And I wondered, she has endured an abusive marriage, and all the dad could think about was to marry her off for dowry. She was sad, she was not happy about it, but she seemed to have very little choice. So my mom bought her a sewing machine so that when she got to her husband's home, she would earn a living for herself. Well, a few years later, when we asked about her, we were told that sadly she passed away from enduring yet another abusive marriage. Oh, God rest her soul in eternal peace. Josephina was a very, very bubbly soul. I have never understood why someone would want to abuse her. But oh well, the Bible says that the heart of man is desperately wicked, and only humans with a renewed mind, heart, would do good. But I wish we would all be kind. I wish humanity would take up kindness as at the top of their deeds. Because when I think about Josephina, many times I have questions. I wish I met her as an adult. I wish she would have lived longer to come back and see the children that she raised, because she taught us to go to the market and sell, the vegetable that we planted at the backyard. She really taught us. She was a clean young woman, clean and hardworking. And I think I admired that so much about her that I adapted a few of the things that she did. And I think she was the last housekeeper that we had before my mom just gave up on having house girls. That was such a sad ending for Josephina. But all in all, she lit up our lives and she made us see the beautiful side of a special needs person. That disability is not inability, she did it all. She communicated even when no one could understand her. She communicated. See, she sold all her vegetable before the others. See, she sewed, she patched up clothes, repaired torn clothes for the neighbors. She took me to school on a public vehicle, and we got there, and she took herself back. Unfortunately, the men in her life failed her. Her dad married her off twice to abusive men for dowry, and the last one took her out. Well, today I remember her for that good deed of rubbing balm at the sides of my forehead when I had headaches, and the headaches magically disappearing the moment I woke up. Oh, I don't think I've ever been taken care of that much by any other person. That was Josephina's strength, and only her knew how to do it. We all have our strengths. What is yours?